KnightVision Kids is always near.
Welcome to KnightVision Kids. Today's story is about a very silly emperor who thought he was the smartest man alive. But he was about to learn a big lesson from a tiny voice in the crowd. Let's jump straight into the story.
Once upon a time, there was an emperor. He had a big round belly, thick bushy eyebrows, and a very long curling moustache. But the emperor was exceedingly vain. All he ever thought about was himself. "I am simply magnificent," he would exclaim. "Look at these splendid eyebrows. Look at this magnificent moustache. I am a true marvel." The emperor adored fancy clothing. He owned 400 silk shirts, 300 pairs of exquisitely tailored pants, and a staggering 1,000 pairs of colorful, extravagant socks. He also had a fondness for grand, fancy words, even though he had no idea what they truly meant. "Empirical, cantankerous, discombobulate," he would shout at the top of his lungs. "I am so intelligent." One sunny morning, a man arrived at the palace gates. He claimed to be a tailor. "I make the most splendid clothes in all the lands," he announced proudly. But the tailor was no ordinary craftsman. He was sly and dishonest. He earned his living by tricking wealthy people into paying for things that did not exist. The tailor entered the emperor's grand hall, dragging behind him 10 enormous suitcases. "Your most majestic and intelligent Majesty," he said, bowing low. "Everyone knows that you are the wisest, most intelligent man alive, and I have designed some absolutely remarkable new clothes just for you. These garments are only visible to the truly intelligent. In fact, fools and idiots cannot see them at all." The emperor clapped his hands with delight. "Wonderful! With these clothes I will finally know who is clever and who is a fool. I will never be bothered by idiots again. Let me try them immediately." The tailor undressed the emperor until he stood only in his underpants. He unpacked his tape measure. He measured the emperor's arms, legs, shoulders, and all around his big round belly. The tailor carefully opened one of his suitcases. "Ah, yes, this one is perfect," he said with a sly smile. He pretended to lift a shimmering shirt from the case. "What do you think, Your Majesty?" The emperor gasped. He could see nothing at all. "Isn't it splendid?" said the tailor. "And remember, only intelligent people will be able to see it." Oh yes, quite magnificent," stammered the emperor, though he felt a flicker of unease. Why could he not see the clothes? "Surely I cannot be a fool," he thought desperately. "A real fool would never know such impressive words as vestibule, crepuscular, flibberty-gibbet." Yet the emperor said nothing. The tailor went through the motions of dressing the emperor in the invisible shirt, trousers, jacket, and shoes. When the emperor stood before the mirror, he searched eagerly to catch a glimpse of his magical garments. But all he could see was his big, round belly and his plain underpants. I'm not sure this is exactly my style," he murmured to himself. "Perhaps I should ask for a second opinion." So he summoned 3 of his most intelligent friends into the room. "Friends, what do you think of these remarkable new clothes? Only the truly intelligent can see them. Fools see nothing at all." Of course, his friends could see nothing either, but none of them wished to appear foolish. "Oh yes, that shirt is simply delightful," said the first friend. "And the trousers, what a perfect color," said the second. "And the shoes?" "Absolutely fabulous," said the third. The emperor was overjoyed. "Splendid. I shall wear these extraordinary clothes in the grand parade tomorrow." He handed the tailor a great fortune in gold, filling all 10 of the tailor's suitcases with coins and jewels. As the tailor made his way safely back to his carriage, he laughed and laughed, the sound echoing through the palace gates. What a fool. That night, the emperor stayed awake long after everyone had gone to bed, poring over the heaviest, dustiest books in his vast library. If I can just learn a few more grand-sounding words, then I'll finally be able to see my magnificent clothes. When morning came, 2 of his servants quietly entered the emperor's chamber to help him get ready for the parade. Of course, they couldn't see any clothes either, but they said nothing, for neither wanted to appear foolish. Carefully they pretended to dress the emperor. The emperor moved to the mirror. He blinked, he squinted, he turned this way and that, searching for any sign of the legendary garments. And then, wait. Out of the corner of his eye he glimpsed it, a subtle glimmer of shimmering fabric, a faint checkered pattern, a tiny splash of color. Yes, he could finally see the clothes. Of course, in truth, there was nothing at all, but sometimes what we most wish to see appears right before our eyes. Delighted, the emperor cried, "At last! Let's go join the parade." The entire town had gathered to watch, all the wise scholars, all the learned writers, all the teachers, and, of course, all the children. The emperor climbed into his open carriage and waved proudly to the crowd. As the carriage rolled through the streets, an unusual silence fell. The music came to a sudden halt. All eyes were fixed on the emperor. These clothes must be extraordinary, the emperor thought. Then a tiny voice rang out from the back of the crowd. "Mummy, he's only wearing his underpants!" Gasps rippled through the onlookers. A few nervous chuckles grew into laughter. Then laughter spread like wildfire down the streets. They laughed and laughed, unable to stop. They clapped and shouted joyfully, "Underpants! Underpants!" The emperor heard the uproar and felt his cheeks burn. He had been tricked. There were no magical clothes. He was wearing nothing at all, only his underpants. In a rush of embarrassment, he leapt from the carriage and ran as fast as he could back to the palace. Behind him, the laughter followed. "Underpants! Underpants!" He slammed the bedroom door behind him and sank onto his bed. Later, when his friends came to check on him, they found him reclining in comfort, wearing all of his real, magnificent clothing. Every single fancy shirt, every pair of splendid pants, and all 1,000 pairs of his extraordinary socks.
And that was the story of the emperor and his invisible clothes. Everyone around him pretended they could see the clothes because they didn't want to look silly. But pretending only made things worse. The truth is, it's always braver to be honest than to join in a lie. Even one small voice can help everyone see what's real. So remember, it's always best to tell the truth, especially if someone's only wearing their underpants. See you next time when you join me for another story on KnightVision Kids.
KnightVision Kids, come join the fun.